as an elected official, you get criticism, people come at you from all angles, and that's their right, and I understand that. And most of the stuff you let roll off your back, and no matter how disgusting it is and how many lies that might be out there, at some point, lines get crossed. And I think it's right for us to stand up and point that out. Especially when they start to bring in and speculate and, quite frankly, just flat out lie about individuals that are in the community that aren't elected officials. So, Mr. Power, I sent you a picture. I'm going to ask him to bring up this picture. So this was brought to my attention as something that's on social media, and I'm going to call him out by name. This is John Grassi. Mr. Grassi decided to post this picture. It says, "We thank all the volunteers after Hurricane Irma that helped our community, including Mayor Ganz. Our only question is, would Mayor Ganz have volunteered if there were no cameras?" Mr. Grassi took it a step further, and I'm going to read this by saying, "What is Bill Ganz doing with Eddie Sarrazin? Something just is not right here, but it surely looks like Eddie from the back in blue. We clearly need to investigate more about what Eddie is doing and what is going on in his business operation and how he may possibly influencing the voting during the election process." Very interesting, because you can see the date September 14th. I have no idea what election he's talking about. He further compounds it with, "Look who else is with Mayor Bill Ganz through those back is to us. I'm sure it is Eddie Sarrazin. Further, it's at a house where Eddie goes to have all those living in the home fill out a mail-in ballot. We need to know more about his relationship with Bill Ganz as well as the business he is running. Eddie, in my opinion, brokers votes in some fashion. Do not know a whole lot about it, though it certainly would seem by his comments he does. But I think it would be interesting for the state to step in and understand more about what he's doing at his business. I'd like to understand it more as well." Mr. Grassi, you're a fool, and I'll tell you why. The individual you're talking about there in the middle is our State Representative Patricia Williams.
Yes, it is.
I am very sorry, because some people's minds, well, I guess they suppose when they see people of color, they assume they all look alike. So my apologies to Mr. Sarrazin for having his name slandered and dragged through the mud just because Mr. Grassi doesn't like me. I also apologize to Patricia Williams and these poor people whose house that is. Yes, that is a cameraman. That is one of our city employees who works in our public information office. What we were doing there on September 14th, that was the day when excuse me, I'll finish it. Thank you. That is when the Broward County opened up a pod at Quiet Waters Park to have water and ice distributed there at that park. I was there when it first opened, before it opened actually. There was no crews, there was no cameras, but there was State Representative Williams, there was Senator Gary Farmer, and there was Commissioner Mark Bogan from the county there, as well as other volunteers, including Ms. Freitag, as well as others who I called and said, "Come on out, we could use some help in distributing this food." This was on a Thursday. Rather than go to work that morning, I came in to work that location. While we were working that location, our public information office department showed up with cameras because they knew it was located in the city of Deerfield Beach, given out to Deerfield Beach residents that were going to film it whether I was there or not. What Patricia Williams and I did is exactly what we did back on July 15th at a food giveaway that we had at Oviedo McKeithen Park. When that food giveaway that was sponsored by State Representative was being held, I said to her, you know, we're not really getting, the people aren't able to come to us, we need to go to them. We knew that the Palms, located in Deerfield Beach in District 2, were primarily elderly and disabled people that didn't have the means or the ability to get transportation to come to the food giveaway that was on July 15th. So Patricia Williams, myself, and really the entire crew, including BSO, Sheriff Scott Israel, loaded up my pickup truck with the remaining food from the food giveaway, and we drove over to the Palms. To my knowledge, I don't recall any cameras, I don't recall any media, we just did it, and that's what we did. And on September 14th, when we were doing the water and ice giveaway, when I was calling volunteers, and I'll give them praise, Tyrone Philpart showed up and filled up his truck and took it to the people that needed it most, who didn't have the ability to drive over to the giveaway. We also had people like our former city employee, Linda Hunter, showed up as well. And we loaded up her van to take it to people that needed it most. Patricia Williams and I knew that this was something that needed to be done. We got a caravan of BSO, and we were piggybacked by the public information officers to film it because they were going over to film what was being done with a food giveaway by Oceans 234 being done at Praxis, which is an over 55 community for people, disadvantaged people over there. So they piggyback on us. On our way to several of the areas of the over 55 homes, such as run by the Deerfield Beach Housing Authority, we went to Benai Brith, we went to several others to distribute food and water, water and ice there. I was contacted by a elementary school teacher over at Deerfield Beach Elementary who teaches the autistic children at Deerfield Beach Elementary School. She said, I have a student whose grandmother is home. They have no ice. They have very little water left, and she cannot leave because she needs to stay with him, and they are stuck without electricity. I gave the address to BSO. We all caravanned over there and dropped that off. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a little blue cooler. When we got there, they had less than a gallon of milk, less than a half gallon of milk left, floating in what used to be ice water, sitting there with some packages of cheese and whatever else little food they had in that cooler, and that's all they had. We delivered ice and water to them. And then we went door to door, and we knocked on doors and found people that didn't have electricity, didn't have the means to get out, and we delivered food and water, and we did that. I can tell you on the Tuesday night after the hurricane, there wasn't any media when I was over at the Palms buying food myself for the residents that were over there. When I was there in the dark with them, putting in lights that I took from my own home to power the lights in their their elevators, their stairwells, because their elevators weren't working. There was no media there then. And when I sat there and waited for the fire department to show up to provide diesel fuel for their generator and to provide ice and water for them, there was no media there for that also. When we went to Friday night at Praxis, where Commissioner Battle was already there, when we showed up there and realized the conditions were poor, and I got on the phone and sat there in the dark with those people, working out with the ownership to provide lighting and to secure their pool and do some of the things they needed to do for those residents, there was no media there. When I left to 7-Eleven to go pick up ice for the people there that needed ice because they had insulin that needed to be refrigerated, there was no media there. So Mr. Grassi, if you're gonna lie while you're sitting on your ass at your home behind your computer, I suggest you get your facts straight before you start slandering people's names. Mr. Sarrazin was your friend. He simply didn't support your candidate in this election. So you choose to slander him and go after him. I think it's disgusting what you've done. If you don't believe me, what you've done, here's an email between you and Gene Robb talking about inviting Mr. Sarrazin to all of your meetings for the Haitian community churches, and you begging Gene Robb to show up because they hadn't seen her since the election. So that's what you wanted them to do. I'm sorry that you had a falling out with him, but to slander the man is completely wrong. You want to take a shot at me? Get your facts straight. I am tired of people trying to ruin other people simply because they disagree with decisions we sit up here and make. I will also add this. This is the same John Grassi who supported a candidate in the election who, when questioned by the state attorney's office under oath with his attorney present, admitted that the entire reason that he ran for office was to supplement his income. Tell me why in September 2016 you make the decision to enter the race for mayor, because I knew that Mayor Robb was not running anymore and that it was a small town part-time mayor and it would pay like $30-some thousand a year, which would supplement my income. So I felt that I had a chance of running against somebody else because it was an open race. When asked by the state attorney, so one of the primary reasons you decided to run was for income purposes, yes. This is Mr. Grassi's candidate of choice, Mr. Ken Wayne. You know what, Mr. Grassi? You got your facts straight. You didn't win the election. But for you to slander people like you're doing, it's completely wrong and it needs to stop. Thank you.